something that could be done to change these fucking people in America. So they were at least, I don't know, like the black people in Cuba. They fucking worked. They didn't commit crimes. They didn't sell drugs. Amazing. It's, what is it in Cuba? Okay.
Russia is like 12,000. So, 13,000, sorry. Okay, so like, in perspective, you see, China is two times more than Cuba, but Cuba is 5 times more than Haiti, and these are more fucking people. And that's the average American, which is like 56,000. No, like, you're dirty fucking poor.
Yeah, it's fine. But like I said, I'm not sticking up for communism. So I don't know if it matters. I just it's just weird how people like pick out, and like I can say what they get so like weird when I can point out like what Cuba does have. It does have no problem. It does seem to a problem they do seem to solve is their black people problem. Seems like they kind of got control over that. That's amazing. Then it's just like, oh, but communism bad. No shit, communism's bad. Well, but dirt poor black people here like will sell drugs and they kill each other and they don't work and they often drop out of school. But in Cuba doesn't really give them that option now, does it? Yeah, well, it's better than them committing crimes, I would say. I'd rather than be slaves to the state than be drug dealers. Okay, you know what? Maybe ghetto black people should be slaves to the state. Then maybe that is something that we should consider. If they're not going to act right, yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, I thought your argument was that it was. Didn't we have this debate like a couple months ago?
I mean, I would rather.
I think it's not far off.
I would actually rather than pick cotton, okay, with the slave master, the biggest, strongest black man who has a short temper with a big whip, making him pick cotton than having them, shooting up, nightclubs and whatever the fuck it is that they like to do out on the streets.
Going outside is not like a privilege. I've never been locked up.
We should. That's what we should do. Is like I actually think instead of prison, they have to live on a plantation, and they have like honestly.
So there is a cultural problem. I think you could have both, just because it's whatever government. It's more about the altruistic regulation within the government than even what it is. Well, I guess to an extent. So there is too. Like I used to work at the school system. It's called Chelsea, Massachusetts. This was a while ago, and they had a lot of Cambodians fresh off the boat, Vietnamese. A lot of times we got trouble with the Vietnamese. Why? Because they would say they're 16 when they were 26, trying to get into the school to get the education. There was a lot of violence, but 94% of it, something like that, was from the black kids. So there was kind of an equal mix. It was interesting. White, blacks, and these kind of poor Asian kids, that they were the poorest, but they were the least violent. So there's probably some cultural thing going on. But I think the way to do it would be, and I want your opinions here, would be our nature seems to fit the capitalistic model best, unfortunately. A lot of problems. it seems to do it. We're not that altruistic, so we can be corrupt. We need a lot of checks and balances, or things are going to go. No one wants authoritarianism, to clean up. We could do it. We could do a better job than that. But we need the regulation. What say you about how to do the regulation, how to get things passed? Because it seems like it's so much trouble.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's very difficult to get out of, and if you're ostracized by going outside of the group, which for whatever reason they do see getting educated as going outside of the group, then it makes their life, at least in the short term, very difficult.
Hey, Adolin, I'd like to address what you asked, because when you say that our human nature is capitalistic, what we have in America is not capitalism. We have a central bank. We have a central bank that has created $40 trillion in debt, and they're going to create even more. That is not capitalism. That is the definition of Marxism and communism or socialism. And we aren't going to stop. And you know it, and I know it. This is not capitalism, and we have spent money like drunken sailors. The whole economy, 40% of the economy, is bent on borrowing and spending. That's not capitalism, Adolin. So I don't know why goes back to what you just said at the end, where people are stupid and there's no intellectualism. If American citizens were actually intelligent, they would be protesting the Federal Reserve, Congress, the IRS, etc. Because this is a slave state now. This is a prison with 350 million people who will do what they are told to do, because we have essentially bankrupted our finances and our morality. We have an immoral financial system in this country, and everyone around the world, because of World War II and the dollar reserve, has to eat our shit, and shit rolls downhill. I am complete.
Yeah, I don't.
But that has to be really down the line. It's just so agreed and everything. But yes, obviously we have to get rid of the Federal Reserve, decentralize a lot of powers.
If we get rid of the Federal Reserve and we just do the same thing that Congress and the Federal Reserve do, we didn't get rid of anything. We essentially have to become libertarians, and we have to actually understand how to make a profit, which is cost of goods sold minus price of good, or price of good minus good. That's your profit. We don't have that because we borrow to actually achieve profits, and all the money that we borrow goes straight to corporations and then social welfare bullshit. I'm telling you, this country has done a full 180 degree turn from the founders and what the country was set up to be. The central bank is the biggest problem, and Congress is the biggest problem.
It is massively corrupted. It is massively corrupted. I would say it wasn't that we were capitalism. I would kind of agree that I don't know that what we have is capitalism now, because it's so messed up. But I don't know that I wouldn't call it Marxism now. I don't know what I'd call it.
If you read Karl Marx, he literally says only through fiat currency and central bank can you achieve a communist state. You deplete the value of the dollars through fiat currency. It's the biggest change in human history of all time. They always used metal to do exchange. Now we do fucking fake paper, which is nothing more than artwork. It's literally pieces of paper from a printer. That is not capitalism. That's communism. We just happened. And we didn't even win the Cold War. The Soviet Union wised up, and they're like, you know what? This economic model doesn't work. We're going to collapse it because it's not profitable.
Well, Adeline, to answer your question, I think you can look at maybe upwards 20% of our population that comes from multi-generational dysfunction. These are people that are going to do a horrible job raising kids, and the cycle continues. I almost think that there isn't, I don't really know how to improve their standards unless, to be honest with you, I almost think it would take something like a totalitarian system like you would see in Cuba or China back in the day to I guess you could say, break that cycle. I think that they almost have to be raised by, and only surrounded by functional people, I guess you could say, people that are adept at just functioning in America like the other 80%.
Well, it's the women in
And also too, I've done counseling, and some of it, what you're saying, as I agree with that, but my solution is, I'm trying to avoid total totalitarian. I'm trying to do it in a least restrictive way.
No, I agree.
Correct? Yeah, that's all I'm trying to get at. Just what can we do short of that? I mean, maybe if things have completely collapsed, I mean, maybe you have to do that to pick it up. Like, maybe you have to wipe out something completely to fix it because it's really hard to do anything surgical because it's so messed up. It's just so hard to
Well, I would say I
get that.
have a very dim view on this, and there's many things you have to take into consideration. First of all, generally dysfunctional and unintelligent people generally are going to have kids with each other. Now, how is that woman going to be? How is that woman going to be? How responsible is she going to be when she's pregnant? Is she going to be drinking, smoking? Is she going to be doing drugs? What is she doing? Stuff that can affect the baby. When the baby is born, how attentive is she going to be to the child? Is she going to be rather careless? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of areas where the mom can fuck up. Okay, in addition to maybe the kid not having the best genes. Now, obviously, there's not much you can do about the gene part, like today, but
There is. I've actually done some.
Like 60 years ago, this wasn't a serious issue.
well, I would say though, but what can you control for? Well, it's kind of hard.
There is something. So
Like what?
Choosing a mate is a marketplace. I think we can agree with that.
But we're talking about the dysfunctional people. The dysfunctional people tend to be careless. They generally they have a careless, unprotected sex. They generally are not going to plan ahead. They generally are not going to put much thought into it. So how do you control for that part?
So we got two parts. We've got some poor genetics that would then lend itself to the carelessness. So there would be an increase in that because the genetics interact with the environment, and that's where you're going to get your behavior most. There's two parts. So I want to attack the harder part first. The really hard part is the genetics. Part of it is women. If you give women a better choice, and this is a little crazy. This is selective genetics. But if you give them a little choice in men, generally what women do want is a holistic, good package. They don't just look for the looks. And it's not that guys do that, but there is a little prioritization. They want the holistic package of being a good dad, a good husband, a good provider, good healthy genes. They do look at that. And they look at that more than men look at that with women. So having the women have some power there would be good genetically.
Who the fuck gave women the right to even speak before they even decide?
But this is kind of where I am. I'm trying to be. I think looks are going to largely depend when people choose mates. A lot of it's going to depend on how attractive the other person is. I mean, just as a general rule of thumb, attractive people go with attractive people, and so on and so on. I don't think unattractive. I mean, I do think that attractive and unattractive or just average women, they're going to likely get someone looks matched to a degree. But what I would say is that somebody who's unintelligent is generally only going to be comfortable around other people that are around their intelligence level. That's who they're going to have things in common with. And when you get people who, it's not just an intelligence thing. Some people are naturally a lot more impulsive. Some people, might not just be genetic. A lot of it is just, how they were raised. But you're going to have people who do things like have riskier unprotected sex while not on birth control. Do a lot of things, substance abuse, and these are things that where they, it's not epigenetic, it's polygenic scoring that, like in the UK, and they were only looking at white kids native to the UK when they did this, and what they were saying is that the people that were having kids, it was the people that had all of the polygenic scoring risks for things like ADHD, substance abuse, a lot of you know, they were the ones that were having kids at a higher rate, which makes sense because these are the people who are likely going to do something impulsive that would lead to pregnancy, whereas others are generally going to plan it. So once you get that out of the way, and this could be nature or nurture, both that leads to the poor decision making. Now, how do you break that cycle though? Like how can you have that mom not be who she's been her whole life when raising that child?
Concentration camps.
Well, hopefully, well, the other thing is the child care situation and the epidemic of child care, having some low-wage loser kid who couldn't really do any other jobs, so she's gonna take care of 1-year-olds, and they call that a teacher. A 6-month-old, 12-month-old infant, they don't need a teacher, they need a mom or a dad, somebody with a vested interest. It could be a good grandma, someone capable, basically an adult in a room. 2 things that they need: an adult in a room that will make sure emotionally fortified, take care of them, and they care. So that those 2 things need to coexist: a capable, emotionally capable person, mentally capable, and they care. If those 2 things don't exist, the person is not going to be well taken care of. And then you tend to produce these losers that you're talking about. But if we took care of that, that would help a lot. If you don't have emotional fortification, that comes first in the brain, not the intellectual. That has to come from, it's like being hungry. If you're hungry, you're not going to learn math. You're going to be hungry. That's it. And I know this for sure. So you have to take care of this emotional stuff first, and that starts with the little kid. It's kind of easier too to look at the society and say, okay, what do we need to do for our 2-year-olds? That's a little more simple. Look at that, and then sometimes some of the answers fall into place.
So yeah, I guess, but like my question would be, who's so like I said, my interest would be breaking the intergenerational cycle of dysfunction. Well, what's going to be there to make sure that mom is even capable, if she is, of, and as you know, like the emotional connection, attachment that you have the first few years in life is very important. That can lead to a lot of your neural pathways not forming correctly, and so you end up having emotional problems you otherwise wouldn't have had. And I guess I don't know. It's short of being in a system where, like, let's just say, like, imagine you had these people, like, from the day they gave birth, where you have, like, professionals around all day, and they basically make sure the mothers watch their kid. I don't see how you could make it work.
I have thought of, my brain has gone to the same place over and over, and I thought about this, and you're right, I see this all the time. Like, I worked in a school system, and a lot of times if the kid, they start there at 5, their brain's already mostly formed, and they're already ruined. And because the teachers because I worked in a school system, they would complain and say, hey, those tests at the end of the year, we're getting judged on that. And actually, some of our salaries are based on this. So if we have a kid who's damaged goods, that's not fair. So they wouldn't even, that's not the most empathic way, but it's like, hey, damaged goods, not fair. It's going to be.
No, you're correct. There's whole
and
schools.
It's true, they were damaged. Yeah, because a lot of times there wouldn't even be a mother or father in the house in this place. I worked out in the eastern North Carolina, and there was no mother, father. It'd be a foster care situation or a grandmother, and the grandmother has got like 5 of the kids. She just plopped one in front of in front of the TV that wasn't even working right. That would be the parent. And so the kids would come, and they were already, their neurons would be half gone. And even if you did a really good job from that point, which you wouldn't, by the way, the schools aren't set up to do that kind of stuff. They're set up to give a good worksheet. The worksheet that matches his test score. That's what they're set up to do, the good and bad.
Yes, and there have been studies on this. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they initially started out putting a lot of funding into the school themselves. They quickly realized that, well, shit, we have a whole different problem. It's not, only up until a point can the school make it so that you can get a good education, but nearly the rest of it is what happens outside of the school. And so, like, you would have to have extensive wraparound services for kids who are, they don't have, some kids, have a parent that will literally make them do a lot of studying and force them to carry out all of their responsibilities, who will always be a good role model. But then you have the other parents who just like either they barely exist, or they're just super dysfunctional. They don't give a shit about you doing your homework or studying.
I have a nastiest story you've ever heard. Y'all gonna have bad dreams, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I had a parent, because I did testing for kids, that during her pregnancy, now she wasn't a drunk or anything, but they were very poor. They had to work very hard. It was a big struggle. This is already like their fourth kid. And it wasn't going that good anyways, and she kind of let things go, we'll say, with a pregnancy. Maybe she did do something, and the kid came out disabled. She wanted the kid to come out disabled. It was only going to be another 5 or 10 IQ points from where it was going to be anyways, so it wasn't that big a deal. Let him be disabled. If I tested him and he'd come out below 70 with an adaptive score below 70, an average score below 70, they qualified as a disability. That gives a paycheck to the family that they didn't have. That doubles their income, and they did, and he qualified. That was like one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. But that's the kind of thing I wasn't so surprised. But what we want to do is not reward. You want to do it. It's very tricky. This is a very tough question. I love the question, because you don't want to reward like welfare for poverty or not or doing their best they can. You don't want to reward that. But at the same time, you've got to end the cycle. So it's not easy. I think you gotta work both ends of the stick, probably. You have to provide, and they do have this, but it's not very good. Yeah, you need someone in there from day one. You know, the baby's just laying there. I mean, what? You do. So you need to have something from like J1, but at the same time, you don't want to reward. There are programs like that already, but they're kind of half-mass. I mean, I wouldn't say half-mass, like 1%, kind of actually rolled out that you can do more with. I mean, they have very educated people that do a really good job. I had done a little bit of this. I worked with people who did more so, and they were good and it helped. But there's a lot more that does cost. But sure, I think there's, it's an investment. Because this is you have to make this a big priority and look at this a big ugly issue. You have to really bring this to the forefront and say, hey, this is unacceptable. We have to do something about it. But you got to do it for both ends. You can't just give an extra check, an extra disability, an extra this. And you have to give the families hope too. A lot of it is this cultural thing with no hope. And I never knew what this was. I'm like, why do you all just sit around when you get home after work, just sit around Lake City and watch soap operas? I can't imagine anything more disgusting and boring as that. Maybe you'll play cards later. You just smoke your cigarettes and watch a show. What the hell? Why don't you just you can go to this after school thing and do this thing and get this little degree on how to fix washing machines and get yourself out of there? Well, I could? Yeah, they don't even know that. So, but there's a way to improve that so they'd improve themselves. So there's a lot of improvement we can do. I think it's still going to be somewhat of a problem, but we can definitely get way ahead.
I agree, but I have to take off. I'll see you guys later.
Who's got the screw? Should I maybe invite the listening people? I don't know if they can talk or not.
You don't
need to send an invite. You can just unmute. Come on.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks.
So you guys think that Joe Biden is a robot clone?
I don't think of Joe Biden. He's like in a nursing home or something. Why would I think about him?
Why would you put a robot in a nursing home? It seems counterintuitive.
I mean, if he needs the care, a lot of people have.
But why would a robot need care? Who's a robot?
Oh, a real robot. Oh, I don't know. Even robots need tech support.
Yeah, do you know why I'm making that comment, Adeline?
Why?
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am more right than I am left. So I
That's
don't,
what Trump is saying, right? That this is Trump's theory that Joe Biden died in 2022, okay, and then now it's a robot. This is actually what Trump
that's sort of
believed.
silly to me. I don't
Yeah,
believe
it
in
should
like
be to everyone.
getting monsters in the sky, Jewish people throwing space lasers. I'm not a conspiracy. I think those people, there's something wrong with those people.
There's definitely something wrong with Trump, I agree. Yeah.
I'm not schizotypal. I think a lot of people have some kind of psycho land, just something wrong with Trump. If I was in charge, I think I could do a better job. And I don't think I'm that smart. Just some common sense, though. I mean, I work for a biotech company, at least in part, and so the biotech company is originally from China. And what they do, though, is they manufacture in North America, in the U.S., but they need the parts from China, little bitty pieces, little hooks and ends. But with manufacturing, if you don't have just this one, it could be a screw, it could be this one little sheet. It's like doing a long division problem. It'll be wrong. You have to have all the bits and pieces. And if one little part can't be obtained, well, the thing can't be made, and then it can't be sold. And if it can't be sold, they can't give jobs to the people here, and we couldn't export. So the tariff thing really needs to be, okay, maybe there needs to be tariffs, but it needs to be much more surgical. And maybe he's trying to get to that. I hope so. Because it's so messed up. So my friends, like, I mentioned this even though it's a small company, but it's representative of the thousands of other ones. It's definitely representative. There's nothing special about it or anything. And a lot of manufacturers in the US are basically assemblers. They don't invent the molecules and the things. They don't grow the part in the backyard. Well, maybe the agricultural ones do. We don't have to worry about those, perhaps. Oh, we do, but for a different reason. But a lot of these things that produce stuff, they need the product. We're kind of more almost assemblers. These quote manufacturers. They're kind of assemblers. You could probably substitute that word. So that's a huge thing. A lot of people don't know, and I don't think it's going to change, but he's screwing up the ACA. He's really got his mitts in the ACA. I guess Medicaid, I'm not sure what Medicaid, I know a big thing about Medicaid too. But health insurance for people making $55,000 a year, that's not a poor person. That's somebody working maybe in engineering. But they still get their health care on the ACA. And it's going to be harder to get a deal on that. $9,000 deductible or $9,000 out of pocket. What kind of insurance is that? And still they're having to pay such a huge price, given their net pay. So anyways, that's an area that to me is a huge thing. That's looks like it's going to be really bad. It was already not so great this year for a lot of people. I was one of the few people who knew how to maneuver there. There's like a reset thing you can do, a change of thing, but they figured it out. I knew what the loophole was all these years, and I managed to help, working, people making 2022 to whatever, about 60, and then a little bit better deal. And now that's gonna be wrecked. So I'm kind of worried about that. There's a lot of problems. I think the fight though is hilarious. I do watch a lot of comedy. Like, it was so funny, you know, the Musk attack. Why can't he show the Epstein files? We all knew why, but still, here Musk say, you know, well, because he's in all the pictures. He's in there. I mean, that is hilarious. I mean, to say it, because we all kind of knew this anyways, but to put it out there, it is just so funny.
What are y'all talking about?
Just political state of things. But did you have any interest or anything, or any peeves or anything you want to bring up?
My brain, I have completely lost brain cells, so I am not able to help in any way.
No,
But I
but
don't
that's
think
why
this-
I asked you for your. Well, is there anything like on your mind though that might be easier for you?
No, I just lost some, like, in my brain. I don't know if this guy Republican is here, but he always says that we're just wasting away on here.
Well, so
I think
what do you
he's right.
attribute to the brain drain for yourself? Like,
Not reading enough. He's right, I don't read enough. I don't listen to lectures enough. I'm not using my brain enough.
what's taking up your time? Your
Uh,
energy?
I guess just bad decisions.
So you mean the consequences of the bad decisions?
Exactly. Sometimes the bad decisions.
Yeah. Well, I was.
You know you're on YouTube. You know you're on YouTube right now, right?
Oh, good.
This guy at Republicans is screaming us
Oh,
somewhere.
what an honor. What an honor. I don't think that anybody's gonna listen to it. I think this would be like so boring for people.
I know, right?
Boring enough just to participate and try to crack a few jokes, but to not even be able to do that, I don't know.
Says your name, Adeline? It's a pretty name.
Yeah. Well, thanks. How do I pronounce yours? I don't know. How do I say your name? I've had some jobs in the past that, you know, I guess to say at the beginning of the job, you know, I was okay. But then after, you know, hours and hours and weeks of it, probably before a month, it didn't take all that long, you know, my brain was gone. I mean, it was like a kind of a monotonous thing where I wasn't getting to do anything that engaged myself. It was just like stupid stuff. It was like, or admin. It was just kind of paper pushing, there's been various ones, different natures, but where my mind never lit up. There was never any like creative process. And it really took a toll on me mentally. I think I would call these a shit job. I mean, I think that does come under the category of most people would agree that would be a form of a shit job. Even though some of these might be in a nice looking office and stuff, and the carpet might be nice or something like that, they still could be bad. One example of a horrible job, and I quit, was I was like in between things. It is kind of embarrassing, but I did work at a call center briefly. And the job is interrupting people, basically. The job, that is your job, you're interrupting other people that are busy doing some good work to get their questions or sell them whatever it is. And that was probably one of the worst things. And it's just so repetitive. It was like, I don't know how people can get out alive with a job like that. I was damaged after, I think I did it for 10 days. I think it took me a couple of days to recover. And it was probably longer than that to fully recover. It's like a taskmaster standing over you, not the whole time, worse than the whole time. Kind of this, you don't know when. You're facing a wall, a cue. It's like a kid on punishment at a middle school. They go to that room and they sit in the cubicle and face forward. Well, that's you. But in addition, you don't your mind can't wander or anything. You have to constantly either be doing on the phone or dialing over and over and over and saying the script. And then sometimes you're smart enough to realize, oh, this is what this is about, and you want to kind of use something you figured out on the call when you finally do get the person, because it could be kind of crucial, you think, for something meaningful, in other words, doesn't matter what. But you're not allowed to say it or ask it, or it's really bad. To tell the person what really this is after and give them a clue. At the end, the last day I was there, I did that on every call. I mean, I didn't know if I got fired or left, but I could wait, and I did do that, and I think that made me feel better. There are people, though. This is kind of heartwarming thought. I call them the sort of our working heroes. There's people, their jobs aren't good. There was a lady, I was calling for help. It was something on the ACA, the healthcare.gov site. Asked for some question about, I had calls so many times, maybe they could see that. I know there was something I didn't know. There was some problem. And I think maybe I got the same girl, and she took pity on me. And she whispered to me, you know what, I can't say this if it's on YouTube, by the way. Well, it's probably going away. But she told me that there's a button that you can do and say, well, just put this in and you can get this plan. Yeah, you'll have a little bit of taxing later. And it won't be that bad. Penalty, just do it like this. And I understood. I'm thinking about, she was trying to tell me something. And then I said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. She couldn't exactly say, but I knew, I could tell as another human being that she was trying to tell me. She couldn't tell me exactly the key word, but she would be fired and certainly should be reported. But she was trying to help me. There was a way. And there was a bunch. She gave me a couple of hints. And then I looked at the site and I said, could it be this? It can only be a couple of things. And then I understood. And from that understanding, I saved my hardworking boyfriend thousands and thousands of dollars in health care over the years. Probably I saved him $2,000. And we didn't do anything, everything was legit. But there's a way to do stuff. I think she's a hero. But anyways, I just want to go to the little heroic acts that people do for each other, even strangers, as kind of an act of humanity. Or maybe, they're creative enough, they're able to hold on to enough of their creative brain cells to do something kind of meaningful that makes a big difference. But sometimes they don't realize these little differences, these hints, these customer service, sometimes people who do, they can make really a big difference. I don't know if they even realize that. But here's a thanks to you guys out there, hanging in there, doing some of this work, but sometimes you do some of this stuff, and even not just, being nice really does matter. So the name of this website, ultra right. I'm not ultra right. But I thought, I think, I don't guess you would say I'm in the middle, but I'm like, no, on the left, and no, on the right. And only through that, will people out here hold nose, am I in the middle? So if you're brain dead, you read a fun book. That were something easy, maybe like a social satire, a Pulitzer Prize winning one. Like it's public. Confederacy of the Dunces by John O'Toole won a Pulitzer Prize, and it's public. I think it's public domain, so it's probably free to hear the audio of the book. That's easier. I would do the audio. It's so good, and it just builds up and fun. And they use what's also great about that book is like there's so many words now that are, I guess they're too offensive. They're censored words. I hate that, but all those words are in that book. Words like degenerate, abomination. Some words I can't even say on YouTube. Because oh God. Get crazy. But anyways, they're all in that book. It's just a literary masterpiece. Like I said, a Pulitzer Prize winning literature, wonderful, great thing. Confederacy of the Ducks is really fun, read, free, and you probably won't even need a free download. You probably don't even need to go to a free download thing to get it for nothing.
The letter so that it means almost you're the son of 1,000 whores. Oh.
It's not very nice, Yael.
No. Yeah. What's up, Republican?
Nothing. I'm sitting here suntanning. What are you doing?
Really? Suntanning on what?
In my living room with the sun. I'm on a reclining chair, sitting in the sun, suntanning.
I don't think the UV rays go through the window glass.
Oh, they do. I'm looking pretty tan these days.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So how much longer till Palestine is free?
Oh, wow. How much until Palestine is free? Till God wills it. No. God has willed it. God's willed it like 8 times, and he's like, I'm fucking over it. How many times?
Yeah, how many times can you play the game The Boy Who Cried Wolf?
I think God has willed it. I think at this point we're just going against God. Boy.
Why can't they get out? Because you see these videos of people just living in absolute, filth, poverty, and despair.
Egypt is basically you have to, what is it, 10,000 per person to cross the border? Royal, I hate to say it, I know this is going to sound really racist, but the Palestinians are just a very lazy people. Everybody in the region knows it. Absolutely nobody wants them in their countries. Egyptians don't want them, Jordanians don't want them, Lebanese don't want them, Syria doesn't want them, North Africa doesn't want them because they're fucking shit. Because wherever they go, they cause civil unrest and they start wars. And the reason why is because Egypt's blocking it or Israel's blocking it is because they're fucking shit people. I hate to say it. Collectively, absolute shit. Individually, some very nice ones. But collectively as society, incompetent. Not great. No good.
It can't just be a question of how much it is to get out, because if that was true, I mean, a lot of people would pay for a lot of people to get out.
They have an immigration office.
Well, what I'm saying is they're being manipulated and controlled. Like, they can't
They're
leave.
not being manipulated and controlled. They're fucking human beings. They have brains on their heads. Like, they're not the victims of everyone. They don't have self-autonomy. They're just useless people. Like, at some point, people just have to accept it. They're not.
They don't want to leave, right?
Useless.
Because if
They're not
they leave,
manipulated.
they
They're
don't
not
have a
tricked. They're
right.
not like
They don't have a right to return once they leave.
return to where? A place they've never been to? You have to go somewhere. Oil. Think about it. My grandparents started a war and moved 20 minutes down the road, and I'm living on Palestinian land under the Palestinian Authority with a Palestinian fucking ID card, vote in a Palestinian election, yet I'm a fucking refugee, and I can see the house that my grandparents had to leave because they tried to kill a bunch of Israelis one day after the state was formed. That's not a fucking refugee, that's a fucking lazy piece of shit. Literally, they're 20 minutes down the road. They went from the coastline to the inland. It's a fucking joke. I'm sorry, it's a joke.
Well, when I see these videos, it's just like, are they stubborn and they aren't even trying to leave the area, and they are just
No.
because they have so much aid flowing in. They're like, oh, why leave? You know, it's and the plus there's maybe no program to where they can raise their hand, like, okay, I'm ready to leave, take me.
So at the aid points, there's terrorists at the aid points shooting them. So many people are not actually getting aid.
Well, why don't the Egyptians and Israelis provide security at aid points to deflect and repel enemy forces so the people can get aid and possibly leave at the same time?
Because some of them are paid by Israel. And Egypt's not going to do anything because they're scared of America.
Well, the problem is the problem will just linger. I mean, this seems to me like there's no resolution here. It just seems like this is going to go on indefinitely.
The solution is that they're removed permanently.
I mean, how many people is it? 1.5 million people are trapped in Gaza right now?
No, they have immigration offices set up that are going. Dubai has agreed to take in like a couple thousand, and some of the Arab countries in the Khalij are willing to take in a couple thousand, but there's no reciprocity. Like, yeah, nobody wants them.
So then it's all just fall rage. It's all fake rage against the genocide. But yet they're not willing to fucking help. Pieces of shit.
Yeah, well, no, can you blame them? Like, think about it. Their entire existence is just like non-stop wars of problems. Wherever they are, it's problems.
It's not a question of blaming them. It's a question of don't talk out of both sides of your mouth and expect us to give you any credence if you're not willing to lend any help or support.
It just destabilizes governments, and so no government wants them. Like, governments understand that taking in hundreds of thousands, it's going to destabilize them and put them out of power and overthrow their governments and cause even more issues in the region. You're going to get like toppling and all these like, what are they called? Like militant groups start popping up. It's bullshit. Nobody wants that. People trying to like move forward in the region. It's been enough after Assad and all this shit.
Well then, how many more quarters or how many more years do you think this will go on?
Forever. There's no, unless they're physically removed and not allowed to come back, it will never end. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
But if they go overseas, won't they just spread terror wherever they go?
Some of them, yeah. Not necessarily all, but some, yeah. I don't want to hear that, but it's unfortunately the truth.
I mean, I don't know. I saw a speech by Ben Gavir, and he was saying that, you know, we should kill terrorists instead of housing them in summer camps in our prisons. And, you know, it seems kind of insulting to me that, you know, you may have a family member killed by a terrorist who's captured and put into a prison, who's being stored essentially for some type of a future prison swap, or they're being stored because the state, you know, doesn't want to do capital punishment. It's like, but they're waging war. It just seems like a lot of double standards in terms.
I think they kill most of them.
No, they don't.
Say at least 90% of the Palestinians that carry out terrorist attacks end up dying.
Oh, you mean in the attack?
Whatever, I'm not shedding over tears over that, but I don't think a lot of them are going into the prison system. I think most of them that carry out terrorism generally end up neutralized, as they say.
Yeah, in the act itself. But I'm saying when they're captured, tried, judged, they're still not getting capitally punished. They're not, you know, dying by fire.
Some of them, but most of them died during the capture.
Yeah. But, I mean, how many Palestinian prisoners are sitting in Israeli jails? It's probably a ton. I could Google it. What do you think it is, like 140,000? 15,000? I don't even know the number, but...
No, it's probably higher than that. I have no idea.
It's a big burden.
In for, though. Some of them are in. Some of them, I don't know. There's like the long-term ones, and then there's the short-term ones.
See, I mean, when I see the videos of like old women in Gaza giving, you know, like there's just too many people. Like, it's just so many people. Like, you can't just say, hey, you guys got to go now. Otherwise, we're, you know, this thing's never going to end. It's like they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay there. Yeah. So then the status quo just persists, and this is the song that never ends. How annoying.
Yeah.
So what do you think about people here, you know, criticizing something or someone for many years while their own personal lives burn to the ground?
I feel pretty good about it. Why?
Because people here are willing to die on a hill for this one fucking topic, but yet their own personal lives suffer because they're here 40, 50, 60 hours a week talking about it. It seems like these...
It's an obsession. It's anti-Semitism. Which I do think actually is going to be classified in the DSM one day. It is obsessive for some people.
Do you think I look like Anne Frank?
Yeah, she was, oh, you sucked your belly in.
What do you mean? This was the same picture. I had these both up and you called me fat.
I didn't call you fat. Somebody called you chubby.
No, you called me, like, huge.
No. Okay, now you're just making things up. They said that, Royal said that you look chubby. And then everyone that you try walking more instead of always fucking driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
To get your food. That you make every day, take out 3 times a day.
You don't even go to the gym, Danny?
No, I don't go to the gym at all.
Jesus, what's wrong with you?
I don't know, like, okay, when I was younger, my mom made me go to the personal trainer and everything. I'm a swimmer, like, I would swim every day if I had a pool, but I don't. Yeah, so she made me go to the gym.
That's not the same picture. You sucked in your belly for this one.
And both of them are up. I know I did.
It's not the same picture.
It's the position.
No, you sucked in your stomach. They said that you look chubby, and then once you took another photo.
I took them all at once. Okay, I can show you. Okay, so I went to the gym, and then I was on the elliptical. I was like 13, and you know I have ADHD, like, to the extreme. So,
made you go on an elliptical at age 13.
and she made me get my eyebrows done when I was like 7.
Good.
Okay, so I turned my foot, and then I put it down, and I cut open the back of my foot, and I
We need to find
cut my foot, I actually got stitches. And then my mom's friend poured alcohol on the cut.
For sale at any price.
And like you're supposed to go
running as
at
an
it.
independent operator.
Where's he hold up now? In exchange, I offer a favor, but it's
So then my mom took my mother's
fine. Flesh muscle.
there because like the
Realize you've been released from
her.
I had that one viewer, and that viewer made me feel like
It's healed.
if you're moving, it needs off.
Oh, the scar on my head, on my forehead, is from your brain, dumbass. Oh, the one on my forehead is from chickenpox. I got the chickenpox when I was in 2nd grade, and that one left a scar. Why?
Yeah, Al.
Really fucking annoying.
Yeah, Al, if you had any marriage advice to give to Danny since you've been through the ringer, what would you offer her?
I don't have any marriage advice. My marriage advice is to get divorced.
Ooh. That's not marriage advice.
Yeah, but think about it, like, her husband comes on here and tells everyone she has a big pussy and smells like fish. And she tells everybody that her husband has a 3-inch cock. Who doesn't sexually satisfy her. I just feel like they've crossed the line. So reckless.
But maybe they think they're like a comedy duo or something, you know? Otherwise, they're depressed. They must both be depressed, and that's their projection to reverse their dopamine deficiency.
Is that what it is, Danny? I think Republican's a nice guy, you know? Okay. Maybe you guys can get it. Matched up. Maybe that's your Jewish
No,
guy.
I'm good.
That's your...
I don't like big
I'm
pussies.
so fat. I'm so fat and not his type. I don't go to the gym. Like, ew, I'm gross. Right. But I'm just saying he's a nice guy. Maybe he's for you, Yasmin. No, I'm in a relationship. I don't need that. But what don't you like Republican?
I was just joking because there's a Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where she's making fun of his tiny dick and he says, maybe you have a big pussy.
Oh. I've seen that one. I've seen that one, and I don't know. Can PTR prove it? Fractal?
What's up?
You did not just go to Fractal to confirm what your pussy looks like. I feel sick.
Fractal, are you?
Fractal, have you seriously seen her pussy up close?
Yeah, she sent me the videos, yeah.
Oh my
These are
gosh.
disgusting. Don't you feel like this is incestuous?
Are you just jealous because I said she has a nice,
No, I just
chest
want
than
to
you?
pause for a moment. Daddy, you're a 40-year-old married woman.
Take the Lord Marshal's offer and bow. I bow to no man. He's not a man. He's the holy half dead who's seen the underverse. Look, I'm not with everyone here,
Don't
but
know.
I will take a piece of them.
20 and I'm 40. This is crazy.
The peace you'll have.
Feel better. 39 and 25. Okay, I think
Hear them. One of my
best.
Send me pictures of your
If
fat
you say
ass.
so. What do you think of this blade?
Thank you. Let's send the videos. Please.
I buy everything.
I think it's a half gram heavy on the back end. You keep what you get.
No.
Take the